Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities in Miniature. It's time once more, thank goodness, for a Friday dosage of Obscurities in Literature. And today we have a book that's been around for a bit, and it's sat on my shelf just as long, and I intentionally, purposefully meant to do that. Because if there's one thing I am guilty of, it is of amassing books that take me forever to sit down and actually read. Now that was partly it. It was also partly because if I read it, then I wouldn't have that first opportunity to read it again. Now obviously I can always go back and read another book that I've read before, and I do often reread a lot of the stuff that has shown up on this channel. But I'm a big fan of Brandon Graham stuff, and I'm also a big fan of Living the Line, who published this. And I know that with all of the nonsense with the bankruptcy of Diamond, a lot of smaller publishers totally got screwed over. And part of the reason, and it wasn't planned this way, I have certain beef with that whole situation because literally the day that I was going to go order a bunch of books from Living the Line was when they announced the whole thing with their inventory basically getting shuttered and out of sight, out of mind, haha, it's ours, you can't have it type mentality from Diamond. And I know there's a bit more complexities to the whole situation, but that's not what we're going to get into today. What I did want to mention, because I can, and it's my channel and I'll do what I please, thank you very much, I wanted to mention that they are having a crowdfunding campaign currently going for an anthology series called Consigned. I had to think about that for a moment. But with stuff by Brandon Graham and quite a few other interesting artists, if you take a look at that link down below, they're currently funding that, which it's already funded anyways. But hey, you know what? Why not help them out? They've published some really cool books. Really enjoyed Centralia Plaza, the Moonray stuff, the manga. Oh boy, yeah. One of these days I'm going to sit down and do a thing on the manga that was part of their Smudge imprint. But it's like making sure that I can put it on YouTube without getting myself into major trouble. It's out there, and it's definitely not for everyone. And I'm afraid that if I post it, everybody's going to think, what a degenerate you are, High Lord Tamerlane. And I'm like, well, no, I just keep it under wraps. No. I've always had an interest in kind of outsider-type books and stuff, and some of that manga definitely is. But that's not what we're going to talk about it today. That's what that link's for down below. You're going to go take a look at it. We're going to talk about Moonray Book 2. Now, as I mentioned, this has been sitting on my shelf for a while. And Book 1, I really enjoyed. Not just because I'm a fan of Graham stuff, but it really harkened back to a lot of those stories that if I pick up like an old heavy metal volume that, I had no previous knowledge about what was going on and just starting to flip through those stories. And stuff was happening. And it looked really freaking cool. And the art at the time blew my mind, much like Graham stuff does. It's out there and trippy and just very visually exciting. And I'm all for it. And this book is no different. Let me just say that right now. This book, already straight from the, end pages, you're getting some of Xurxo's really neat colors. Those are his. Not to say that Brandon stuff isn't just as cool. But with the intro and the forward in this book, they mention, that the story itself, especially because there are no true human beings in this book anywhere at all. There's humanoids, plenty of that kind of stuff. But humans, no. It's hard to really tell a story. To really connect to the story, I should say. And I feel like I'm giving spoilers away just flipping through it, but that's okay. I mean, most of this, like, if you look at it, visually it looks neat, but unless you've actually read it, it's not going to make a whole lot of sense, so I'm okay with that. And it did very much remind me of those heydays of my youth, of encountering those old, Bilal and Druyet serials that I had absolutely no idea what was going on. I'm just like, this looks cool. And I mean, that kind of got me really started those early issues of heavy metal, not just because I've always been a fan of anthologies, which I've mentioned many times on this channel too. So the fact that Living the Line is tossing their example into the ring now with some really cool artists, again, which you might want to check out. But just going through this and not really 100% remembering the story, and I'm like, you know what, screw it. I'm going to just read this as if I had no clue what had happened in the previous book. And you know what? It still makes sense. It's crazy, trippy, weird stuff like you just got dropped into the middle of it, which if you read Graham's Prophet, which to this day I'm still pissed at Image for not giving us a deluxe hardcover edition of. We've seen how many other countless series. Damn it, Prophet was awesome. Prophet made me buy individual issues of a comic, which is not something I do very, very often at all anymore. And I still own them. Let me just say that. Xurxo's stuff in the back here, just as neat. Continuing the story that started in the first book with just as bizarre, interesting things happening. Which I'm not going to spoil. And there's a little afterword in here as well from Graham. But, you know, it really does give me that vibe of just picking the story up and rolling with it. And not having to have my hand held and explained in a way like, you know, I need to know every single thing about every single character and what's previously happened. I love the fact that, you know what, let's just roll with the story. And let's just watch the story unfold. And maybe that's just me and my own preconceived ideas of what I come to expect, especially from trippy sci-fi books. And I have to say, my only real disappointment is, number one, that it ends, which I guess isn't a disappointment because we knew that was going to come. It's obviously not the end of the story if you read this. It definitely has a very linear progression of Adam and his friends here. And that's what kind of bums me out, and that's my main gripe, is that the friends that he encounters and spends most of this book with are a different lot than the previous one, for the most part. And I really enjoyed the characterization of a lot of the characters in that first book. Not to say that the ones in this aren't just as interesting. They are. It kind of reminded me a little bit of his previous Rain Like Hammers, in that, you know, it's a bit more morose, kind of more brooding. It's not as uplifting, and, you know, not to say that the first book was all that happy and exciting. Well, it was definitely exciting, but happy in the sense of, you know, good things happening to everybody and everything. And man, those colors. Just gorgeous book. Gorgeous book, gorgeous production. I enjoyed everything that was on hand for this book today. Definitely take a look at what's going on with them. I really hope that Living the Line gets their fair share, and I hope to see much more of their stuff in the future, and I'm looking forward to seeing Volume 3 because it will come eventually. That seems to be a guarantee. And when it does, I'll be there, and I'll absolutely enjoy it. And it may take me 6 to 12 months to finally get off my rear and do a video on it, but you know what? I don't care. I'm going to do it the way I want, damn it. But yeah, great book. Interesting, entertaining, and much like the sci-fi of the previous generations, it's a very exciting visual trip. And if you're willing to dig in beyond the absolute inhumanness of everything, there's a lot of fun to be had. And I'll leave it at that. I think that's a nice way to finish things off. So yeah. Anyways, take a look at Consigned. Wish everybody the best. Cross our fingers for Volume 3. And hopefully we'll have more in the future. And with that said then, this has been High Lord Tamberlane with Obscurities in Miniature, saying thanks for watching, and we will see you back here soon. Bye-bye.